Welcome back to Life on Purpose. Today we're talking about mindset because it's one of the most foundational tools for creating your life on purpose, for creating anything at all, really. And most people think they're stuck, but you're not stuck. You're just practicing the same thoughts. Meaning, people think they're stuck in patterns, like they're trapped there, stuck in habits, stuck in their life. But you're not stuck. You're just practiced. Practiced in thinking certain thoughts and seeing things a certain way and being a certain version of yourself. Because the truth is, your mind is not just observing your life. It's deciding what everything in your life means. And the thoughts you repeat become the world you live in. Because they shape the meaning you give to everything you experience. And you're not just thinking, you're creating. So to understand how to change your life, we have to understand what your mind is actually doing all day. Because your mind is constantly practicing, not just thinking, practicing. Every thought you repeat becomes easier to think again. Every interpretation becomes more automatic. Every story becomes more believable. And what you focus on gets reinforced. What you return to again and again becomes what your mind prioritizes, what your body responds to, and what your life begins to reflect. You're not just thinking thoughts. You're training your system to look for certain things, expect certain outcomes, and create certain experiences. Like if you regularly think, I'm behind, I'm not doing enough, I always mess this up. Those thoughts don't just pass through your mind. They're not inconsequential. They get reinforced, they become familiar, and eventually they feel true. And once something feels true, you start living as if it is. And you can see this show up in really simple, everyday ways. You send a message, someone doesn't respond right away, and your mind starts to decide what that means. Did I say something wrong? Are they upset? Why do I always do this? But nothing actually happened yet. Your mind just filled in the meaning. And in that moment, your focus narrows. You start looking for evidence that something is wrong. You start imagining what might be happening. And what you imagine begins to feel real in your body. And not because it's true, but because your system responds to what you imagine almost like it's real. And now you feel it in your body. You feel tight, you feel uneasy, you start overthinking. And now you're living inside a reality that your mind created. You don't experience life as it is. You experience life through the meaning you give it. And that meaning is shaped by the thoughts you practice most. Because the meaning you assign becomes the reality you move through. Which is why this isn't just about thoughts. It's about who you're being. The thoughts you practice become beliefs. Your beliefs shape how you see yourself. And how you see yourself shapes how you show up, which ultimately shapes your life. Because the version of you you're being determines what you focus on, what you expect, and what you imagine is possible. Over time, your life just begins to reflect those expectations. If someone practices the thought, I'm someone who follows through, they act differently. They take action faster. They trust themselves more. They keep going when things feel uncomfortable. But if someone practices, I start things and don't finish. I start things, I never finish. Even when they want to change, even when they want to finish something, their mind pulls them back into that pattern. Same person, different practiced identity, different life. It's all about what you practice. I see this all the time in the work I do. I had a client who kept saying, I just can't stay consistent. So many clients that we've had over the years have been facing that exact challenge of consistency. And at first, in this particular case, it sounded like a discipline problem. But when we slowed it down and really got to the bottom of it, what we saw was this. Every time she started something, her mind would say, this won't last. You always fall off. What's the point? And because she had practiced those thoughts so many times, they happened automatically. She no longer had to choose those thoughts. Her brain just thought them. And over time, they became the meaning that she gave everything. And once that meaning was in place, her reality started to just organize itself around it. And she would stop. She wouldn't finish. And not because she couldn't do it, but because she was in the habit of being someone who doesn't. She was practiced in being someone who doesn't. So let's bring this back to you. What thoughts do you practice most? Like, what thoughts do you find yourself thinking most of the time? Not the ones you want to think, the ones that come up automatically, the ones that feel familiar. Because those thoughts are the ones shaping who you're being in real time. And it's all about who you're being. This is where the work becomes really powerful. If your mind is always practicing, that means you can practice something new, something different. And at first, it might feel like you're forcing it or faking it. It might feel like you're pretending, but that's not a sign that it's wrong. It's a sign that it's new. You're intentionally choosing new thoughts and repeating them. You're giving your mind new instructions, and you're also beginning to focus differently. That means you're going to start noticing new possibilities, expecting different outcomes, and imagining yourself moving through your life in a new way. And the more you do that, the more your system begins to follow. So instead of, I'm bad at this, you begin practicing, I'm learning this. This is what we call a bridge belief. If you say to yourself, I'm great at this, if you're moving away from, I'm bad at this, and you say to yourself, I'm great at this, you're going to feel some resistance towards that. Your brain's going to be like, no, you're not, and totally resist it. So you have to bridge it with something that is more believable, that is more true, but is still positive and still supports you in being who you're choosing to be. So I'm bad at this turns into, I'm learning this. No resistance there. Or instead of, I always mess this up, you practice, I'm figuring this out. Not, I've got it figured out, or I never mess this up, or I'm always great at this. I'm figuring this out. At first, it might not feel comfortable or natural, and that's just because it's new. But that doesn't mean it's not working. When you introduce a new thought, your brain doesn't recognize it yet. It's not familiar. It's not practiced. It's not easy. But the more you choose it, the more you repeat it, the more it will start to feel real. Because your brain and body respond to what you repeatedly focus on and imagine. So whatever you're daydreaming, whatever you're imagining, whatever you're saying again and again, that's what your brain and body respond to. So you have to, ramp it up. You've got to keep going and keep repeating until your brain and body have a chance to respond to it. So when you start practicing new thoughts and new outcomes, you're not just hoping things change. You're conditioning your system to move in that direction. And this is where most people stop way too soon. They try a new thought once or twice. It feels weird. It feels foreign. It doesn't feel true. So they just go back to what's familiar. And what's familiar continues to recreate the same experience. It's like going to the gym once and expecting results. Change comes from repetition, and the same is true for your mind. So the real question isn't, how do I change? The real question is, what am I practicing every day? Because that's who you're being. So start noticing those practiced thoughts, those default automatic thoughts. Don't judge them. Just notice them. Just try to hear them. And then begin introducing new ones and repeat those. Live into those. And this is where the work becomes deeper. Your thoughts are not just passing through your mind. They are shaping what you focus on, what you expect, and what you imagine. And those three things begin to shape your experience of reality in real time. Because what you repeat internally, you begin to live externally. And when you begin to change what you practice, the thoughts you choose, the outcomes you focus on, and the future you imagine, you begin to change what your life becomes. Not by accident, on purpose. Neville Goddard was the one who said, that which you impress upon the mind must express in the reality. So remember, you're not stuck. You're practiced. You've got impressions that you need to change. And you can practice something new and create something new on purpose. This is the work of creating your life on purpose. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. We'll see you next time.